You're walking through a building an hour before it closes. The lighting has dropped to half, the ambient music is playing to nobody, and something in your chest just drops. It's not fear, it feels like missing someone, except there's no someone to miss. You've probably felt it in an empty parking lot at dusk, when the asphalt glows a little orange, or a deserted stairwell between two floors, or maybe it's a glowing gas station at 3 in the morning. These in-between places have a name now. They're called liminal spaces. There are entire corners of the internet dedicated to thousands of these photos. Photos of empty pools, desolate dead malls, and abandoned water parks. And under every single one, you'll find people leaving the exact same comment. Why does this feel so familiar? And why does it make me want to cry? It's a paradox that shouldn't exist. How can you be homesick, suddenly and completely, for a place you have literally never set foot in, mourning a moment that never actually happened? This ache is a specific cognitive reaction running beneath your consciousness. It is your mind processing the environment in a way it rarely does during the noise of the day. To understand why an empty hallway can hit you so hard, we have to pull apart the layers of this feeling. We have to look at the exact psychological machinery that triggers this very specific, objectless kind of nostalgia. When you recall your 10th birthday, you're remembering a plot. There's a cake, there are people, there's a beginning and an end. That's event memory. But your brain doesn't just record the story, it separately records the stage. This is place memory. Your mind constantly logs the structural bones of your environment, the specific angle of a hallway, the gray tile of a floor, the way light spills down a stairwell. It strips away the people and the plot, keeping only the raw geometry. Think about how much of your life is spent in transit. Hallways you walk down without a second thought, your 100th trip down an escalator, waiting rooms. You were never paying attention, but your brain was silently stockpiling millions of these basic architectural shapes. Environmental psychologists call the bond we form with these environments place attachment. And here's the trick. You don't just bond with the specific address of your childhood home. You form attachments to the broad category of a place, the category of a school, the category of a mall. Scent is the only sense that bypasses the brain's primary relay station, running straight into the regions that handle emotion and memory, the amygdala and the hippocampus. Liminal spaces activate a visual version of that same direct wiring. They hit the part of you that recognizes a shape and feels something before your thinking brain has caught up to ask questions. So when you look at an abandoned space online, you aren't mourning a specific Tuesday from your childhood. Your body is recognizing a structural shape it has filed away 10,000 times. It's a deep familiarity, delivered entirely without a story. But familiarity alone doesn't explain the chill down your spine. Why do these places feel so tender and yet so distinctly skin-crawling at the exact same time? A few years ago, researchers at Cardiff University started looking into why certain physical environments make us uneasy. They discovered something they called the uncanny valley of physical places. We usually talk about the uncanny valley with robots or almost human faces, but it applies to architecture too. It happens in environments built explicitly for human use that then present a subtle, quiet deviation from how they are supposed to function. Specifically, a complete absence of people. Take a typical shopping mall. Its entire structural promise is noise, movement, and crowds. The architecture is literally designed to hold masses of humans. A mall with the lights on and no one inside creates a dissonance. The architecture remains intact, but its purpose, to hold people, has been deleted while the building stays standing. Your brain reads the shape, expects a crowd, and that absence lands like a missed step on a staircase. That tiny, unsettling jolt of wrongness sits right on top of your deep spatial familiarity. That collision is exactly what makes these spaces impossible to look away from. People often assume liminal spaces make us feel sad simply because they look lonely. But the space isn't actually telling you to feel anything at all. The emptiness is a stage with no actors and no plot. It is a complete narrative void. And the human brain absolutely refuses to leave a blank space unfilled. Because nothing is happening in the room, you project. You pour your own internal mood into the space. You're reading your own reflection and mistaking it for the environment. Imagine a 22-year-old girl leaving her shift at a retail store on a Tuesday night. She takes the long way to the exit and stops by a fountain that's been turned off under the dim emergency lighting. She doesn't know why her throat tightens. She isn't recalling one specific day. Instead, the emptiness allows her to sense every past version of herself at once. The kid who was dragged there on weekends, the teenager who went there to escape her house. They all occupy that blank space simultaneously. The magic of an empty room is that it asks absolutely nothing of you. It becomes the perfect architectural vessel to hold everything you are already carrying. So we have spatial memory, the uncanny valley, and projection. But why does all of this specifically manifest as a feeling of missing something? Why nostalgia? For a long time, psychologists assumed nostalgia was a passive sadness, a symptom of being stuck looking backward. Psychologists like Konstantin Setakidas have found that nostalgia functions as a stabilization tool. It activates during periods of rapid change to provide psychological equilibrium. There is a clinical term called self-discontinuity. It's that quiet, existential dread you feel when life moves so fast that the person you were a few years ago starts to feel like a stranger. Nostalgia activates specifically to combat this dread. It acts as a mental thread, actively stitching the past and present versions of yourself together to prove that you are still one continuous identity. Liminal spaces are the literal, physical embodiments of transition. They are the architecture of the in-between. When you stand in one, some part of you recognizes the theme, and it flips on your brain's internal mechanism for surviving change. It makes sense why this aesthetic resonated so instantly with the internet generation. If you came of age recently, you spent your formative years in structurally liminal spaces, empty Discord calls at 4 in the morning, half-empty classrooms during a pandemic. The viral sharing of dead mall photos and backroom aesthetics isn't an obsession with creepy imagery. It is an entire generation discovering a shared visual language for what the inside of their own heads feels like. This ache in an empty room allows the mind to verify your own existence across time. The emptiness provides the silence needed for you to observe your own continuity. The next time you're somewhere ordinary and almost empty, and that wave of homesickness for nowhere hits you, let it happen. The room isn't asking you to grieve. It is just handing you the silence you need to recognize yourself.